जसमा नेपाल सरकार र बेलायत सरकार बीच नेपाली नर्सहरूलाई रोजगारीको लागि बेलायत पठाउने विषयमा सम्झौता भइसकेको छ। सो सम्झौता पश्चात कुन मोडालिटीमा कहिले नेपाली नर्सहरू बेलायत जाँदैछन्, सम्झौता पछिको प्रगति के छ, यस विषयमा केन्द्रित रहेर एसोसिएसन अफ ब्रिटिश अल्मुनाई इन नेपाल अबानले एउटा प्यानल छलफलको आयोजना गरेको छ यसै साता। सो छलफलमा भएका विषयवस्तुको बारेमा केही संक्षिप्त प्रस्तुति आजको कार्यक्रममा हामीले प्रस्तुत गर्दैछौँ। लागौँ सोही प्रस्तुतितर्फ।
I would like to welcome you all in this very important program. Dr. Shrestha, our past president, immediate past president of ABAN, to deliver his welcome.
On behalf of the British Alumni, Association of British Alumni in Nepal, I wish to welcome you all formally to this important event, especially Your Excellency Nicholas Polit, British Ambassador to Nepal, and Dr. Thaneswar Bhusal, other secretary from the Ministry of Labour, Employment and Social Security, our own past president, Namrata Sharma, she will be a moderator in this program, and of course our president of this association, Mr. Uttam Panta, and executive members of ABAN who are here present, other members, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are very delighted to welcome you here again in this program. Your presence makes the program a success. And this program is a discussion program, as is written here, regarding the opportunities for Nepalese nurses to work in the United Kingdom. This program is related to a very recently signed agreement between the government of UK and Nepal regarding this Nepalese nurses to work in the UK. And the idea of hosting this program is the objective is to provide a forum for a genuine and transparent information about this agreement and shed some light on the prospects of Nepalese nurses to be working in UK. It's a great new dimension in the relations between the UK and Nepal. And in this August gathering, I wish that all of you take active participation to benefit from this discussion program and make the most of this discussion. We only request the dignified our panelists, Your Excellency, Madam Ambassador, as well as Dr. Thaneswar, as the panelist of this program, to forward the remarks and clarify the questions that may be raised from the floor. Association of British Alumni in Nepal is gathering working for the past 2 decades. It's 24th year this year now, and we are about 450 members, registered members in the associations, and that provides a great source of talent from these members in almost 60 different specialties of development, which we have gathered, the members have gathered from their study in UK for the last several hundred years. And we are very happy that this new bilateral ties are being growing, especially from education now also to the health sector, and more that will give more opportunities for Nepalese to participate in UK and come back as a probably resource person again for the development of the country. Thank you once again, and I wish you take the best use of this program and be active in the discussion session, which will be moderated by our past president, Namrata Sharma.
Your Excellency, Madam Nicola Polit, Joint Secretary Dr. Thaneswar Bhusal, and fellow Abanians, once again, And I think there are a lot of young nurses here who have aspirations to probably move on to UK. And I think there are some of my journalist friends either coming or have already come. Welcome everybody. I think this is going to be a very interesting interaction. Welcome everyone. And first of all, before we go on to today's theme, I would like to, our president, Mr. Uttam Pant has already formally circulated a condolence list from ABAN on the demise of the late Queen Elizabeth II. But I would like to once more acknowledge the fact that all the ABANian members have been grieving in our, we have a group network, everybody's passing on condolences. And we would also like to, at this point, give best wishes to King Charles III, who actually has visited Nepal a couple of times, and many of us have had the chance of meeting him. So having said that, I would like to move on to today's theme. I think the opportunity for aspiring skilled workers and unskilled workers to countries like UK is a dream come true for people from countries like Nepal. So at this point, there's a talk of UK opening up to a lot of health workers from Nepal, but we are focusing today, I think, on the possibility of nurses moving on to Nepal, from Nepal to UK. So why at this point in time, Your Excellency, has the government of UK opened up these doors?
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Really lovely to see so many young women in the room. So we're really excited about this opportunity. I mean, from a UK perspective, we have a real need for skilled, trained nurses in our health service. And we know that Nepal has many people in that sector who might be interested in coming to work in the UK. But in putting together this agreement with the government, we have really wanted to make sure right from the beginning that we put a strong emphasis on fair and ethical recruitment that works for Nepal and for the people of Nepal. So we very much designed this in partnership with the government, led on the UK side by our Department of Health. And we think that this is an opportunity to make sure that recruitment into skilled jobs is ethical. It's an opportunity in particular for women because we know there are lots of women who are nurses or who are interested in being nurses. And we know that it's a globally respected profession. And so our hope and expectation is that this will draw people into the profession in Nepal, will encourage a greater number of nurses, will encourage an increase in the quality of the training available to you in Nepal as jobs are opened up in the UK. So this isn't just about feeding demand in the UK, it's very much for us as well about supporting the health system here and offering opportunities both here and in the UK.
Thank you, Your Excellency. With a similar question to Dr. Thanishwar Prasad, who is actually Undersecretary of Ministry of Labour, Employment and Social Security. So why at this juncture is Nepal government looking into this venture?
First of all, thank you very much to this organization for inviting me and trusting me that I could be one of the potential speakers to shed some highlight on this topic. Let me also take this opportunity to express our tribute to her, to the late Queen. On behalf of the ministry, we are really grieving this moment, and we would like to congratulate to the new king as well. So many of you perhaps know that the government of Nepal has been having some kind of bilateral agreements with different labor-receiving countries for over 15 years plus now. We had the bilateral agreement with Qatar in 2005 for the first time. But nevertheless, starting from 1990, thousands of Nepalese have already started going to many labor-receiving countries. In recent times, based on the research provided by many of the scholars and think tanks who are also present in here, we are trying to explore new opportunities for Nepali people in new labor destinations. That could potentially be not only UK but also other European countries and other friendly countries with whom Nepal has diplomatic relations for quite a long time. So the question to answer why UK cannot be answered in that black and white format, but it is one of the tools through which our diplomacy is strengthened day by day.
Right.
So labor can be one of the tools for enhancing our friendly relations between UK and Nepal. So I think this process, let me just give some additional insights into that because I have to leave at 1:50 to attend another meeting. So this process took about nearly 9 months, I would say. First, we had a formal request from the British government side about the possibility whether there could be some space for Nepalese citizens to go to UK under this particular scheme, and then we have a series of discussions within our government system, including the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Council for Medical Education, CTEVT, and many other like-minded organizations. We have been consulting with those kind of organizations for a long time. Then at the same time, we also had to undergo several rounds of, let's say, evidence-generating events as well. To what extent we are capable enough in sending the expert human resources, not only nurses, but also other countries are also requiring us to send some engineers, for example, and other technically sound people. So we had to undergo some kind of, let's say, stock-taking exercise to understand whether we are in that position. Then we came to know officially from relevant ministries and departments that we may have some kind of surplus. I'm not exclusively saying that we are, running a huge number of skilled human resources in Nepal, but big surplus is over there. So we actually wanted to utilize that surplus. And the other information that we have got is that many of the nursing staff in particular are underpaid in Nepal. So many of the nursing staff perhaps know, and we are serious about that. We means not only the Ministry of Labour, but also the Ministry of Health. The Secretary himself also highlighted the fact that we should be serious about that. And when we received this opportunity from the UK, there are other requests from other governments as well. Then we immediately consider this as an opportunity for Nepali people to go to the UK. However, as Her Excellency highlighted, this is not about sending healthcare professionals to UK. It's not only about that. It's about something that the UK government is willing to support us in enhancing our health system by, for instance, providing support to increasing the number of nursing students in the nursing colleges, providing support, for example, to those individuals who are interested to study nursing as a subject, as a scholarship or something like that. So there are possible avenues for us to work together with the relevant authorities, with the government.
Thank you. I'll come back to you. I think the Memorandum of Understanding was signed in 22nd August 2022. But before the nurses can start moving on to UK, I think there is a lot of implementation and strategic positioning that both the UK government and Nepal government have to do. Where are we on that? How long will it take? And what would be the salient features in it? Very quickly.
Thank you. So, Dr. Bushell,
Yes.
the experts on this, but let me just say a few words. I think it's worth being really clear at the beginning that this, at the moment, is going to be a pilot. So we're not talking about large numbers of nurses in this first stage. So we hope that in the first part of next year, we will be ready to open the pilot scheme. And as you've said, there's an implementation process just underway at the moment, which Dr. Bushell can say more about. But there are some figures out there in the media, tens of thousands of nurses. That is not what we're looking at.
That's what I want to.
We're looking at a pilot that will run for about 15 months,
Okay.
with perhaps around 100 nurses. And then the aim is to talk to the government about scaling that up when we are both happy that is running, and it's running fairly, and it's ethical, and it's supporting the government in the way that the government here wants. But we're not talking about those very large levels of recruitment.
I got that 10,000 figure. Thank you for clarifying that, Your Excellency. Dr. Gupta?
Yes, in terms of numbers, I think the MOU is very clear about it. I think I like to recall what one of the colleagues from British Embassy would continuously say, that the government of Nepal can tap on and tap off whenever we need and whenever we cannot do that.
Right.
So thank you very much, Your Excellency, for clarifying those numbers and so forth. The salient features, as you mentioned, although the implementation protocol is still to be finalized by both sides,
Right.
we have been doing some exercise in-house and also with our counterparts with the British Embassy. So yes, the minimum language eligibility that we have in discussion at the moment is that it must they must have to have 7 in IELTS, and 6.5 in writing is accepted. This is what has been discussed, what I can disclose to you now. And there is an equivalent test of OET, that's Occupational English Test. We are accepting B+, with some exception in there as well. So this is the foremost eligibility criteria for all the nursing staff to have. But having said that, this MOU is not only about nursing staff, by the way. It's a very broader one, and it talks about other occupational fields within the health sector.
Right.
If the government of UK is willing to, have conversation on that.
Yes, I read that.
So this is the first salient feature I would like to say. Language requirement is the most one. And then comes the age limitation. So we have been consistently saying, because we also have to consider other bilateral agreements as well. For example, with Israel, we have set out the age limit of 45 years, which we would like to stick with this in this MOU as well. So age could be no more than 45 years of age. And we have put forward a proposal to have, let's say, 2 years professional experience in Nepal. So all the nursing staff who would like to apply for this position must have a 2 years professional experience in the hospital setting in Nepal, not in other NGO or campaigning or other things, but specifically working in the health setting, the hospital setting. This is the third salient feature we are in discussion. Nothing has been finalized yet. And the fourth one, which I think is very important, we have to go back to our constitution in order to be able to answer why government of Nepal is sending so many youth to different countries. And the constitution clearly mentions 3 different objectives. This is to acquire either remittance in financial terms, or to acquire or to get technology from advanced countries, or to have some kind of skills from those countries. So these 3 different objectives need to be fulfilled by any bilateral labor agreement or MOU like this. So for this purpose, we are proposing at the moment not to issue a labor permit that goes more than 5 years. So our proposition is at the moment that we are willing to send our people to the UK just for 5 years. But again, there is a kind of room for us to have some discussion on that, because we also need to consider the legislation in the UK as well, whether the UK government is willing to forcefully send back to the healthcare staff to Nepal. So our expectation is that all the nursing staff who go over there must return back to this country after 5 years, because people in Israel who have been sent by the government will return back to this country. And we would like to make some consistent policies across those fields.
Thank you for clarifying all that. I know you are pressed with time. I'll just do very 2 short, quick questions, and then we'll open up so that you can also take a few questions before you leave. One thing that has been speculated is that, of course, after the pandemic, in countries like Nepal, people need jobs. And skilled workers going to countries like UK to have a job is excellent for Nepali professionals and also Nepal as a whole country. And the fact that you are stressing on the fact that there's a criteria they have to return after 5 years answers some of the questions I'm going to ask. But doesn't this create a havoc of health experts in the country itself? This question particularly is to you.
I recognize your concern. It means that if we, continue to tap the turn the tap on, then perhaps the outflow of healthcare professionals to advanced countries would be higher, and of course we will be facing the situation of havoc, if you like. So, so there are 2 or 3 different aspects that we need to highlight. The first thing is, can we control the mobility of individuals from moving to other countries? We cannot do that because the Constitution clearly mentions that the right to mobility is already quoted in the Constitution. So we cannot do that. But having said that, we should have some kind of measures that would encourage people to come back to this country after they go to overseas for overseas employment. The second dimension of not being able to, in the situation for havoc, is to make sure that we offer opportunities once they come back to this country.
Right.
This is exactly why the government of Nepal has recently promulgated a reintegration policy in this country, which creates several opportunities for people who like to come back to this country after a certain period of experience in overseas countries. So the reintegration framework, if you like, does provide space in the economic sector, like entrepreneurship or employment and so forth. And it also opens up a space in the social dimension as well. If anyone comes back from any country and he or she feels difficulty in reintegrating himself or herself in the society, then there is a policy now that encourages local and provincial governments to invest some amount of money and energy, policy energy, so that those people can be settled back into this country. So this is the second dimension. And the third dimension is to increase the production, because I think we have got some policy, maybe the director from the CTBT can tell about that, but I think there is some kind of policy ambiguity at this stage in this country about the production of nursing staff.
Right.
We have some limitation, and I don't like to get into it, but I think we need to have some kind of broader policy framework that would encourage the nursing colleges to, for example, expand the nursing quota,
Exactly.
how many nursing staff they can produce every year. If they have a capacity to produce, let's say, 75 nursing staff in a year, then we, the British government as well, are keen to support them in increasing that number from 75 to 100, if that is possible. And our friends in the UK, not only UK, but other development partners are also very, very happy to support us in increasing that number. So by these 3 different tools,
Right.
I'm not seeing any havoc in the
Thank you
future.
very much. Thank you.
For a long time, the British government has been supporting the health service here since 2004, and we've put in over £300 million in that time. And an important part of our commitment as we put this MOU together is to continue to invest in the Nepali health service. So, just as Dr. Bushell was saying, to make sure that there are jobs, to make sure that the health service here continues to develop and can develop in such a way that there are opportunities for nurses when they come back with skills from overseas.
The other question, the last question from my side is, just recently, my friend's daughter and her husband, they're psychiatrists, and they moved on to UK, and they're enjoying. They just left, it's been a couple of months, but with them is their newborn baby. But now, because of the pressure they have over there to set up their profession in a new country and excel in the work and also adapt to the new cultures, they're thinking of actually bringing back the child and leaving here for a couple of months. So, which they're doing it with it's their decision, and they're happy about it. Just because we have a joint family system here where the support for the child is there. But this is one issue that might come when people move on, especially women, and there are others also. But when I read the MOU and a couple of other question and answers, FAQs that has been posted up, I see that the package actually is very, very lucrative. It's very interesting, and it has a lot of support system once the individual reaches UK. But having said that, there are challenges people face when we go and work in a new country. So, just for the audience's sake, if we can just both of you share on what are the challenges you foresee and how both the governments are looking into taking care of that, and then we open up for the students. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you very much. So just on the family side, I mean, obviously every individual will make their own choices on this, but from a British government perspective, nurses who are successful on this scheme will have the right to take their immediate dependents and family with them, and they will be resettled in the UK in exactly the same way that any British nurse would have. So access to benefits, education, all of that will be there. I think it's really important for us to try to be as honest and publicly open about some of the challenges as possible. So we know that there are illegal recruitment firms both operating in Nepal and in the UK. There is also criminal activity that looks to abuse individuals who come from abroad who may not know the country very well. And you know, we will put in place support to try to help nurses coming to the UK just to be aware of those risks, and in particular to avoid giving anyone any money for this scheme outside of our two governments. So the NHS will offer, I think, around 3 months of pastoral care for new nurses arriving into the UK. And that will include kind of cultural support, resettlement support, and advice, and whatever people need to settle in. We recognise that it's not easy to land in a new country straight into a new job with a family. So that will all be there. But I think, you know, of course, we shouldn't kind of shy away from the fact that there are illegal operations out there. I think we should be clear about what those are and try to be vocal about what kind of thing can happen in order to make sure that people go to the UK as equipped as possible with the knowledge that you need to avoid getting into those situations.
Similar to other countries, we foresee some challenges that Nepali people could face in the UK. So for instance, the MOU clearly outlines that Nepali nursing staff will not be automatically entitled to be nurse in the UK. So they have to undergo certain tests over there. And it has been mentioned that they will be given chances for 3 times to take part in those exams. So what happens if they fail for three times and they have to undergo a test on their own for 4th or 5th or 6th time? In that case, they might face some kind of psychological disbalance working in the UK. This is the first thing that we foresee. The second thing is similar to other cultural shock studies. Perhaps many of you know that there are 4 different stages. The first one is that in the first few weeks of their departure from here, they definitely enjoy it.
Exactly.
Everything is new for them and they enjoy it. Then starting in the second phase, they start missing the food, the language, the culture, and etc. And in the third phase, they start coping with those missing moments. And then finally, they would like to get settled over there. And then they have to come back, another aftershock. So those kind of different stages that we have to foresee in this process. And there is a legal obligation for the government of Nepal to organize pre-departure orientation training programs for them. Together with our friends at the embassy, I think we will be organizing the pre-departure orientation training packages for them, in which we will be covering each and every single aspect of what can be the problem in the UK once there.
Thank you, Dr. Musad, right? So we open up the questions and प्रश्न उत्तरको समय आएको छ. Feel free to encourage you to ask in English, of course, but if anybody wants to ask in Nepali, feel free to do that.
It's a wonderful opportunity for nurses, and I would like to congratulate both the UK and the Nepal government for taking this initiative. Like you mentioned right now, the term would be like for 5 years, and Nepalese nurses are really excited to grab this opportunity, I believe, which is already viral in lots of social media. So, like, along with the nurses, like when they are placed at one of the NHS hospitals in the UK, there won't be like some social or relationship issue at home. Like, will only the nurse be able to go, or do they have to leave their family back home, like kid or spouse? I was interested to know about it.
Thank you. So, as I said, nurses will have the right to take their immediate family with them, so spouse and dependents. And those people will have the same rights in the UK as British citizens. But in terms of the support available to them there will be a well-planned programme of support for the nurse which will include induction into the hospital or wherever it is that they're working, as well as peer-to-peer support, cultural orientations, all those kind of things. Nepal is not the first country where nurses are arriving into the NHS, so we have some experience of this, but the exact details will be worked out in due course, and all of the information that we're talking about today is available on the MOLES website, so as this gets developed, there'll be more information that comes through there.
Maybe I just would like to make a minor clarification on that. So the mandate to the Ministry of Labour is not to talk about families or any associated members of the family. So as Madam Ambassador mentioned, this is the law of the land in the UK that they definitely encourage, or I don't know, they could consider the application with the visa. But our concern is not to send the families. We are just sending some group of people to any country, not only UK, for labour purpose. And there are three objectives that I highlighted before that are quoted in the Constitution. So our concern is not to talk about families, by the way.
I was thinking that when we go there and we conceive a child, so they might be entitled to be the citizen of the United Kingdom or not. And what if we have to return back after 5 years, and what are we going to do about the child?
Shall I just, I'll answer the citizenship one while I was thinking about what you want to ask. So there are some very specific rules around what entitles you to British citizenship, how long you have to be in the country, all those kind of things. But this is no different really to any other Nepali who might go to the UK and then subsequently meet the criteria for British citizenship. Nepal, the government of Nepal doesn't recognise what we call dual citizenship, so citizenship in two different countries. So you are left with a choice of where you want your, which country citizenship you'd want to take if the child were eligible. But that doesn't, I don't think that changes where you can go, which country you can be resident in, whether you can, stay as a family with your child. Those choices are all there for you. It's really just a question of which passport you want the child to have.
I just wanted to suggest one thing that you have mentioned about the restriction for the sending dependents or family members. If the receiving end is okay, then we should be restricted on that.
Sorry.
There are so many social problems here back in Nepal. Otherwise, you have to say that only the unmarried person will be eligible. Then there are so many social problems.
No, sorry, sir. Perhaps you misunderstood me. I said that the Ministry of Labour's mandate is not to talk about families.
Oh.
We are not saying that we are restricting families from going to UK. What I tried to say was that our jurisdiction, the Ministry of Labour's jurisdiction, is to talk only about the labourers or the human resource that we are sending to overseas countries.
So they are professional people, they are not just labourers.
No. Labourers means, I am also a labourer of the government of Nepal. I'm not meaning that, they are under skill or something. What I'm trying to explain is that the matter of family is not our jurisdiction. Who applies or not is not our concern. Our concern is to send those people that are outlined in the MOU only. So this is what I said.
I'll just go straight to the question only, because I don't have much time. But when you have time, I'm always available. Well, when these nurses will be going there, perhaps it is too premature now, but can you get some idea where will they be posted? Because Britain is itself very big, there are different types of hospitals, right from super specialty hospitals to other teaching hospitals, then hospitals in different provinces, and also even in Britain, in London and south of London, there's so much difference actually. But where will they be posted? Because I'm asking you this question because I heard, I'm very elated to hear that one of the objectives of sending these people over there is to, when they come back, the standard of medical care, nursing care will be elevated. you are putting a lot of effort in for this quality also. So my question is, for quality also, will they be posted in quality hospitals? Because in Britain also there are it's all very well worked out. Which hospitals are what? So have you been thinking anything in this job? Thank you.
And I think he wants to say something.
Yes. I think some of the remaining questions will be definitely answered by Her Excellency, because many of the questions, as it seems, are relevant to the UK side. What I just would like to highlight finally is that the implementation protocol under this MOU is undergoing. We will have some round of consultation again with some of the relevant authorities within and beyond the government. So my humble request to all potential candidates is to keep on checking our website. Do not trust any individual who may continue to say, as Madam Ambassador highlighted in her remarks, that there are some people who actually would like to pretend as if they are the authorities. So please be aware of them. This is a zero-cost MOU, which has never happened in this country. So this is a very historic one. No selected individuals will have to pay a single penny to go to the UK. So please bear in mind, and also tell your friends that this is a zero-cost process. And zero cost means zero, totally zero. Even your language testing fees will be reimbursed. No airfare, no medical test, nothing, nowhere is to be paid. So please bear in mind that. And also be ready and prepare for English language test. We have recently established a very dedicated unit at the Department of Foreign Employment to deal with this particular MOU. An undersecretary has been deployed by the ministry just yesterday. And there's a team of, let's say, different people, including the IT engineers who will be developing the online application portal. So everything will be handled online. At the ministry, we have a responsible authority to talk about this MOU. And so far, I have been working in this sector. So if you just go to our website, you may find out my contact details, including Twitter, for example.
First thing to say is we are very proud of the National Health Service. And it is a national health service which provides health to everyone at no cost at the point of delivery. So yes, it's paid for by taxes, but you can turn up anywhere in the UK and get the same quality of healthcare wherever you go. And so, from a nurse's perspective, wherever in the UK you end up, you will be in a first-class hospital working alongside highly qualified colleagues and first-class individuals. The MOU with the government of Nepal will put nurses into anywhere in the UK where they are needed. So we have a number of NHS trusts, and they will put forward the numbers that they need, and then people will go to where the need is. So we can't tell you at this stage where that will be, but I can tell you that you will be working in an excellent hospital or healthcare institution.
I have one question that after working some years in the UK, so we can just, if we want to upgrade our education level, then what are the requirements or how many years, after how many years we can just upgrade our education level by studying bachelor level in the University of UK?
Yeah, so if you come to the UK under this scheme, your visa for the UK will be linked to the job that you do under this scheme. So if you wanted then to transfer into higher education of some sort in the UK, you would need to apply for a different visa to move on to a student visa. So I think you need to kind of look into how to do that when you are there, but you wouldn't automatically be able to kind of leave a job in the NHS and go into being a student because your visa is linked to the job that you're doing.
I went through the MOU and also the FAQs, and I'm pretty sure that there will be no any issue of kind of discrimination. But there are some concern that some of the workers migrated to the UK beforehand. They had to pay a huge amount of money, and there are some action being taken by the government of UK, and that process is underway. I think we're in the agriculture sector, so there have been some cases filed. And also there were some concern about kind of unequal payment and something like that with the British British Army. So with that context, actually, how you will ensure that there will be no discrimination regarding the benefits and the payments and everything, including enough service benefit.
Anyone who tells you that if you pay them money, they can get you on this scheme, or that in order to get on this scheme, you need to pay them money, is not telling you the truth. So just come through the MOLES website and avoid any middlemen. We know that that does happen, so we don't have any kind of scheme or MOU on agriculture, but we do offer visas for people to come and work in that sector. And sometimes when they take up those visas, there's no support mechanism around that. And then when they get to the UK, we know that there is sometimes abuse of that by criminals, essentially. And we have mechanisms and bodies in the UK in order to look into that, which they are doing. On fair and equal pay, so we've been very clear that the people who go to the UK under this scheme will be employed under exactly the same terms and exactly the same pay as British nurses. Just for the record, that is also the case for the British Gurkhas. It's another place where there's some misinformation circulating. British Gurkha soldiers are paid exactly the same as British soldiers. And that would also be the case for nurses operating under this scheme.
Just a query, In fact, once the Nepalese nurses been there, and if they got failed, it will be more demoralizing to come back in the country, and work. So, like in the US also, they do take doctors and nurses from here, and they conduct all the examinations here in Nepal, and they have to pass through those examinations, and then they will go and work over here. So, can we think of that way? Otherwise, it's difficult already.
Yeah, no, I understand that concern, but I think we need to find a balance between, at a clinical level, testing the experience that we need at the level that we need it on site, and all the challenges of people going and then coming back. I mean, I guess it's worth saying that that's partly why this is a pilot, right? We need to get these things right. We need to get the support for those clinical examinations right. I think the Department of Health are the experts on this, but I think our expectation would be that we give people the right support so that they can pass these examinations. That's what we want too. So we're not looking to test people and fail people, we're looking to give them the right support and expertise to make sure that they can pass, which is why we don't want to take too many large numbers in the first phase. We want to pilot this, test this, make sure we've got those kind of things right, including that support, so that people can pass and get into the jobs that we want them to be in as well. I was just wondering whether it would be useful for me to run through the application, or what are likely to be the application criteria. If I was sitting in your shoes, I guess the questions that I would have in my head would be around, how do I do this? What do I need to do to apply? It's not open yet, I would say, and as we talked about, we're still just designing the implementation scheme. But if it's useful, I can just run through again the kind of criteria that we're looking for.
I think so, please.
Okay, great. So this is all on the Ministry of Labour's website as well, under frequently asked questions. So you can go and check this, and we will update this as the implementation protocol is developed. But as Dr. Bushell talked about, you need to be a Nepali citizen, you need to be between the age of 20 and 45. Then there is a list of academic qualifications that you need to hold here in Nepal around nursing qualifications. And the list of those is on the website. You also need 2 years of experience in a registered hospital in Nepal. So it's not enough to have got your experience somewhere else in the world. This is about supporting also the Nepali health system to make sure that the right experience is coming into Nepal as well. Then there's the English language tests, which we've talked about. This is important, and our feeling is that this level of English is quite high. So do a bit of research into what IELTS level 7 means. There'll be lots of information on the internet there, but it's quite a high level of English, sort of spoken, and what you're able to understand that we are looking for before you'll be able to take up these opportunities. So do have a look at that. And then as part of the process, there will also be a job interview, which will be run by the Ministry of Labour and one of the NHS trusts, so someone on the UK side. And then there will be just the standard things like medical checkups and some computer-based tests as well. And then perhaps I'll also just highlight one other point which Dr. Bouchard made, but when you're selected for this process, when you first arrive in the UK, you'll arrive as a healthcare assistant, and then within the first 8 months, you'll need to pass a clinical examination, which then qualifies you to take a nursing position. So just to be clear, we're looking for people who are nurses in the UK, but there's a process still to complete, nurses in Nepal, but a process at the UK end to become eligible for nurse roles in the UK. All of that is on the website, so do have a look.
I would like to thank Your Excellency and also Dr. Busal, although he is not here, and also everybody for asking all the important questions which Her Excellency and Dr. Busal answered. And also they took their own initiative to answer a few more. The questions might not have come. But I think there is like the MOU and the frequently asked questions in the ministry website is very, very helpful if you all can go and look into it. And just before ending, I would like to say is aspiring to go to study and work in countries like UK is always a dream for people from Nepal. I think we should take the opportunity, but because everybody is going as a educated, skilled worker now, in the case of nurses, you have to make sure you don't fall in the hands of wrong people in our country or in UK and get abused. So for that, I think there's enough information here from which you can educate yourself and make sure you don't fall victim to that. But still there are clever people and criminal minds who want to do that, but you have to avoid doing that. Thank you very much for taking your time and coming and doing this interaction. And I now want to hand over to our President, Uttam sir, so that he can further.
Your Excellency Nicola Pollitt, Dr. Thaneshwar Bhushal, Mrs. Namrata Sharma, distinguished ABAN members, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for making valuable time out of your busy schedule to attend this event. On behalf of the ABAN family, I'd like to extend our special thanks to Her Excellency Nicola Pollitt, Dr. Thaneshwar Bhushal, and Mrs. Namrata Sharma for their valuable contributions in the panel discussion today. This discussion provided valuable insight about this initiative from the perspective of both the United Kingdom and the Nepali governments. UK and Nepal go a long way in terms of the diplomatic ties and relationship. UK is indeed the first diplomatic relationship Nepal has established with any countries. Over the years, many Nepali people, several of whom are presently at this hall as an audience, have gone to the UK for higher education and training and returned back to Nepal to make valuable contributions to the society out here. We at ABAN are thankful for the education and training we were fortunate to receive in the UK. We believe that these knowledge and experiences have been transformed over time for the benefit of Nepalese society. In this regard, ABAN is very positive about contributions this agreement between Nepal and the UK will bring to the Nepalese healthcare system in the future. The history of Nepali people going to the UK for education and training is an extensive one. ABAN would like to start documenting some historical artifacts related to this matter. In the days to come, ABAN will work on creating an informational booklet that will highlight the journey of Nepali people who have gone to the UK for higher education and training. We'll be anticipating the support from the British Embassy and the British Council in this initiative. To further streamline this process and make this opportunity accessible to qualified nurses around the country, we believe that it may be helpful for the Ministry of Labour, Employment and Social Security of Nepal to hold some form of an orientation for interested candidates. This will ensure that genuine information will go to the candidates and there will be less confusion around the process. ABAN would like to be delighted to work with the Ministry of Labour, Employment and Social Security in organizing an orientation and information session, or work together in suitable areas of collaboration. We have got many talents in ABAN, and we have been supporting in the different sector out here.